This episode was produced using AI-generated voices and scripting. Okay, so here's what's bugging me. We've all been told that trust is the thing that drives adoption, right? You trust something, you use it more. That's like marketing 101, behavioral economics, whatever. So why is adoption of AI going up while trust in it is going down? That shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't happen if you believe the simple model, but people don't work that way. Think about it. Do you trust social media?
No,
Do you use it?
every day. Point taken. But that feels like a gotcha, not an explanation.
It's not a gotcha, it's the explanation. We've entered the phase where AI is becoming infrastructure. You don't trust it the way you trust a friend. You use it the way you use a microwave. You don't sit around going, do I really believe this microwave has my best interests at heart? You just heat up your burrito.
Okay, but a microwave doesn't hallucinate. A microwave doesn't confidently tell me my burrito is done when it's still frozen in the middle.
Fair. And that's actually the interesting part. People are learning through experience that AI gets stuff wrong. The more you use it, the more you catch it screwing up. So trust going down isn't a failure. It might be a sign of literacy going up.
Wait, seriously? You're saying declining trust is a good thing?
I'm saying it's a more mature thing. The early adopters a year ago were wide-eyed. They'd paste something into ChatGPT and go, oh my God, it wrote my whole essay. Now those same people are like, yeah, it wrote my essay, but half the citations were fake and it missed the whole point of section 3. That's not disillusionment, that's calibration.
That's the part nobody talks about.
Nobody talks about it because Americans losing trust in AI is a sexier headline than Americans developing a more nuanced relationship with a tool they increasingly depend on.
So let me push you on this. If people don't trust it but keep using it, doesn't that actually describe a worse outcome? Like, that's the definition of dependency without confidence. That sounds like a bad relationship.
It can be, and for some people it absolutely is. But here's my contrarian take number 1. The people who trust AI the least right now might be the ones using it the best.
Explain that.
If you go in skeptical, you check the output, you verify, you treat it like a first draft, not a final answer. The dangerous users aren't the skeptics. The dangerous users are the ones who still have high trust and high adoption. Those are the people copying and pasting AI-generated legal briefs into court filings without reading them.
Which has literally happened.
Multiple times. So when I see a survey that says trust is falling, I'm not panicking. I'm thinking, okay, maybe the public is ahead of the institutions on this one.
That's generous. I want to talk about the adoption numbers for a second, because I think people hear Americans are adopting AI faster than ever, and they picture everyone walking around talking to robots. What does adoption actually mean in this context?
Great question, and it's murkier than it sounds. A lot of these surveys count things like using a search engine that has AI baked into it, or using autocomplete in your email, or Siri suggesting a playlist. If that counts as adoption, then yeah, adoption is skyrocketing because you can't avoid it.
So some of this adoption is involuntary.
A huge chunk of it is involuntary, or at least passive. And that matters because when you ask someone, do you trust AI, they're probably not thinking about the spell check in Google Docs. They're thinking about ChatGPT making stuff up, or deepfakes, or whatever scared them on the news last week.
So there's a measurement mismatch. Adoption is being measured broadly, and trust is being measured against the scariest version of AI.
Exactly. And that gap, that's where the whole narrative falls apart. You're comparing apples to existential dread.
Okay, I want to throw something at you that might be uncomfortable. Here's my provocative take. Does it matter if people trust AI?
Ooh,
Like, seriously. If the tools work well enough, and people keep using them, and the market keeps growing, who cares about a trust number on a survey? When has consumer trust ever actually stopped anything?
come on.
No, I'm serious. Did distrust in Facebook stop anyone from using Facebook? Did distrust in big banks stop anyone from having a bank account?
You're right that trust alone doesn't stop adoption. But trust shapes regulation. Trust shapes what companies can get away with. Trust shapes whether people push back when AI gets deployed in hiring, or healthcare, or criminal justice. Low trust plus high adoption is actually a powder keg because eventually something goes really wrong. And when it does, the public backlash is massive, precisely because people felt like they had no choice.
So it's not about whether people stop using it. It's about what happens when the inevitable scandal hits.
Right. And if trust is already low, the reaction won't be, let's fix this. It'll be burn it down. That's how you get blunt, terrible regulation instead of smart regulation.
And I want the listener to sit with that for a second. Think about your own relationship with these tools. You're probably using AI more than you were 6 months ago. Are you also trusting it less? And if so, are you doing anything about that, or are you just kind of going along with it?
That's the question, because most people's answer is, I'm just going along with it. And that passivity is the real story, not the trust number.
Let's talk about who's driving adoption. Because I don't think it's evenly distributed, and I think that matters.
It's not even close to evenly distributed. Younger demographics, higher income, knowledge workers, people in tech-adjacent fields, they're way out ahead. And here's contrarian take number 2. The adoption gap might be creating a new kind of inequality that we're not measuring yet.
How so?
If you're a white-collar worker who's learnt to use AI as a force multiplier, you're writing faster, analysing data faster, producing more, you're pulling ahead economically. If you're someone who doesn't have access or doesn't know how or whose job doesn't lend itself to AI assistance, you're falling behind. And nobody's really tracking that gap because we're all too busy arguing about whether AI is going to take everyone's jobs.
So we're having the wrong conversation.
We're having 3 wrong conversations simultaneously. Will AI take your job? Can you trust AI? Is AI sentient? Meanwhile, the actual thing happening is a productivity divergence between AI haves and AI have-nots, and it's accelerating right now, today.
Okay, but...
Sorry, let me finish this thought. The trust question intersects here because who distrusts AI the most? It's often the people who've had the least exposure to it, and their distrust keeps them from adopting it, which widens the gap. It's a vicious cycle. Distrust becomes a competitive disadvantage.
That's dark.
It is dark, and it's not the narrative you're going to hear because it doesn't fit neatly into AI good or AI bad.
I want to bring up something about how companies are reacting to this trust gap, because I think there's a real cynicism play happening. You see companies now slapping AI powered on everything as a selling point, while simultaneously other companies are advertising no AI, all human, as their selling point. Both of those can't be right.
Both of them are marketing. Neither of them is about trust, they're about positioning. AI-powered is a signal to early adopters and tech optimists. Human-crafted, or AI-free, is a signal to people with trust anxiety. Both companies are just reading the room and selling to their slice of it.
So the trust divide is already being monetized.
Of course it is. Everything gets monetized. But here's what bugs me. The AI-free branding is often a lie, or at least a stretch. Your handcrafted artisan, whatever was probably ideated using AI, scheduled using AI, marketed using AI. The human just did the last mile. But sure, slap a no AI label on it like it's organic kale.
Okay, let me challenge the listener again here. If you're someone who feels good buying the no AI product, ask yourself why. Is it because the quality is actually better? Or is it because the label makes you feel something? Because that's not trust. That's branding exploiting your anxiety.
And flip it. If you're someone who gets excited by the AI-powered label, same question. Is the product better, or do you just like feeling like you're on the cutting edge?
We're all being played.
Welcome to Capitalism, Cole.
All right, let's go somewhere uncomfortable. I think there's a version of this story where declining trust is actually the AI industry's fault, and they know it, and they're choosing growth over trust deliberately.
Oh, 100%. And this is where I get exasperated because the industry could have slowed down and built more trustworthy systems. They could have been more transparent about limitations. They could have not overpromised. But the incentive structure doesn't reward that. Ship fast, grow fast, deal with the trust fallout later.
Move fast and break trust.
Literally. And the thing is, they're getting away with it because adoption keeps going up, regardless. So why would they change? If your user numbers are climbing, what executive is going to say, yeah, but our trust scores are down, let's slow the roadmap? Nobody. Nobody ever.
So the survey is just confirming what the companies already know and don't care about.
Until they have to care about it. And have to means regulation, lawsuits, or a catastrophic public failure, not a survey.
Let's talk about what a catastrophic failure looks like in this context. What would actually make people stop using AI?
Honestly, I'm not sure anything short of a mass casualty event tied directly to AI would do it. And even then, we'd probably regulate the specific application and keep everything else. We saw it with self-driving cars. A few fatal crashes. The response wasn't ban self-driving. It was okay, more guardrails on that specific thing.
So AI is essentially unkillable at this point as a technology category.
It's embedded. It's embedded in your phone, your search engine, your email, your bank's fraud detection, your doctor's diagnostic tools. You can't unadopt it without unadopting modern life. And that's been true for about a year now. We just haven't fully internalized it.
Which brings us back to the trust thing in a kind of depressing way. Because if you can't opt out,
Then trust is almost irrelevant to adoption. It becomes relevant to how you feel about the adoption you can't escape. And that's a different kind of problem. That's a societal anxiety problem, not a technology problem.
I think that's what the survey is really measuring. Not trust in AI, but ambient anxiety about the pace of change.
Yes, that's exactly what it's measuring. And we should take that seriously, but not by trying to make AI more trustworthy in some abstract sense. We should take it seriously by giving people more agency, more transparency about when AI is being used, more ability to opt out of specific applications even if you can't opt out of the whole ecosystem.
Like ingredient labels, but for AI involvement.
That's actually not a terrible analogy. You can't avoid all processed food, but you can read the label and make choices. Right now with AI, there's no label. You don't know when your insurance claim was denied by an algorithm. You don't know when your resume was filtered by AI before a human ever saw it.
And that lack of transparency is itself eroding trust.
Massively. People aren't dumb. They can feel when they're interacting with a system that's opaque. They might not be able to articulate it, but they feel it. And when a survey asks, "Do you trust AI?" all of that ambient unease comes pouring out.
Okay, final challenge to the listener. Here's what I want you to think about. The next time you use an AI tool, and you will probably today, notice whether you verify the output or just accept it. Because that gap between your stated distrust and your actual behavior, that's the real story. That's where all the risk lives.
And here's mine. Stop thinking about trust as binary. Do I trust AI or not is the wrong question. The right question is, what am I trusting AI to do? And what am I not? Because AI is great at some things and terrible at others, and the people who figure out that boundary, those are the people who are going to be fine.
The people who don't figure it out?
They'll either overtrust and get burned, or undertrust and get left behind. Neither is great.
So the optimal position is skeptical adoption. Use it more, trust it less, verify everything.
Which, ironically, is exactly what the survey says Americans are doing. So maybe the public is smarter than we give them credit for.
Or maybe they're just stumbling into the right answer by accident.
Honestly, either way, I'll take it.
All right. Adoption up, trust down, anxiety everywhere, and apparently that might be the healthiest response available. What a time to be alive.
What a time to be a reluctant cyborg.
That's the episode. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time.